Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a frankly staggering contrast that is completely defining America in 2026. On one hand, you have these booming corporate cities, right? They're reaching entirely new heights of innovation and immense wealth. But on the flip side, that gleaming facade is masking a rapidly growing, hidden crisis that is unfolding right beneath those very same towering skyscrapers. It's essentially a tale of two realities, and grasping exactly how they coexist is absolutely crucial if we want to really understand the modern landscape.
Okay, let's dive into this paradox. On one side of the coin, you've got the ultimate global image of success. We're talking about glittering skylines and massive mega profits generated by tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft. These companies are literally shaping the image of American prosperity for the entire world. They're projecting this narrative of universal financial triumph. But if you just step back from the polished glass and all that corporate PR, there is a massive, invisible collapse happening right on our sidewalks. It's a street-level survival crisis that, honestly, a lot of people just find way too uncomfortable to admit is real.
The source material actually sums it up perfectly, stating, "We are looking at the two very different faces of America that are existing side by side right now." Just think about that for a second. Unprecedented, staggering wealth existing right alongside thousands of our fellow citizens who are just trying to survive. They're on the cold corners, under the bridges, and along the exact same sidewalks that thousands of people walk past every single day, trying to navigate a world that just feels increasingly out of reach.
Let's start with Section 1, the visible collapse, Kensington Avenue, Philadelphia.
To really wrap our heads around the mechanics of this dual reality, we absolutely have to look at the epicenter. This is the crisis you've probably seen shared all over social media and the news networks. The internet has notoriously slapped the label Zombieland on this area. It's a viral term used to describe the heartbreaking, highly visible impact of severe drug addiction and life on the streets. But, if we look past the pure shock value of a viral hashtag, behind those highly publicized visuals are real human stories. Stories of deep loss and sheer, raw survival. We're talking about human beings hoping for a second chance in a system that seems to have completely left them behind.
And it forces this totally jarring juxtaposition. Real life, in literally one of the richest countries on Earth, is starting to look like a post-apocalyptic movie. Like, how can a nation with such immense, soaring wealth and technological advancement simultaneously have neighborhoods that look like a dystopian film set? It forces us to confront this terrifying reality. The basic safety nets we all just assume are in place, they have fundamentally unraveled for thousands of people, leaving this desperate struggle for survival completely in plain sight.
Which brings us to Section 2, the invisible crisis, the emerging reality in Oregon.
Now, what's really interesting here is that this crisis isn't just what you can clearly see in places like Kensington anymore. It is rapidly evolving into something entirely invisible to the naked eye. Look at this number, 40. That represents 40 hours a week. People in states like Oregon are working full-time jobs, doing 40 hours a week, and yet they still cannot afford a roof over their heads and are actively forced onto the streets. To put that into perspective, using the data from our sources, we're seeing situations where median rent has completely decoupled from local wages. It's gotten so bad that an entry-level worker would need to work over 80 hours a week just to afford a basic one-bedroom apartment. Because of those astronomical housing costs, fully employed individuals, people doing everything right, are now part of a totally hidden homeless population. They're literally sleeping in their cars before driving to their shifts.
It is a complete and utter fracturing of a traditional promise. The old American dream dictated that if you simply work hard, you're going to be okay, right? You'll have a home, security, a baseline of stability. But the 2026 reality is entirely different. People are working full-time, doing exactly what society asked of them, and they are living out of their cars or in tents pitched in hidden encampments. The unwritten contract of the American dream has basically been broken. Sheer hard work just no longer guarantees a safe place to sleep at night. So how thin is that line between stability and homelessness? It's terrifyingly thin. As the sources point out, the systemic fragility is so extreme now that it often just takes one of three things to erase that line completely. Number one, a single lost job. Number two, a sudden spike in rent that drastically outpaces your wages. Or number three, a sudden mental health or medical struggle. Any single one of these everyday challenges can instantly push a working person from an apartment to the pavement. The economic buffer that used to protect the working class, it's essentially gone. That transition from housed to homeless can happen literally in the blink of an eye.
Moving on to Section 3, Shadows of Luxury. How did we get here?
To really understand how we arrived at this point, we need to zoom out to the macro level.
How exactly did our society evolve into this specific paradigm, especially when you consider that corporate profits are absolutely soaring while this crisis expands on the ground? The sources summarize this growing divide with a really powerful thought. The higher our buildings rise, the deeper the shadows they cast. It's a story of street-level survival taking place literally in the shadows of luxury. For a long time, it's been a reality rarely seen, mostly because society often just chooses to look away. But as we move further through 2026, this contrast is becoming practically impossible to ignore. The shadows are widening, and the crisis is growing right alongside those record-breaking corporate profits.
So, what does this all mean for us? It leaves us with a pretty critical question. Is your city showing these same two faces? I really challenge you to look closely at your own community. Look past the glittering skylines and the polished corporate PR. Are you seeing this invisible collapse unfolding right in your own neighborhood? The only way we can even begin to comprehend and address this massively complex reality is by first acknowledging that it's happening right in front of us. Keep exploring these hidden realities, keep asking those hard questions, and seriously, never stop looking closely at the world around you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.